All right. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to talk to you all about protocols today. Sounds like most of you should be familiar with Practice Better. Before we dive into the screen share and actually kind of walking you through how to build a protocol within Practice Better, I wanted to kind of just introduce the topic a little bit, a couple little housekeeping items for you guys. First and foremost, I really love when webinars like this are interactive. So you'll get the most out of it if you are, asking questions so that I can take the time to answer them throughout our session today. I always try and answer as many as I can, so please feel free to use the chat as we go along today. Let me know kind of what you're liking, questions that you have about what you're seeing, and I'll do my best to answer. This is being recorded, as you've likely picked up on by now, so we will share this so that you can follow along with the replay if you can't stay the whole time or you simply want to kind of revisit what we'll be touching on today. So as Amy mentioned, today's session is all about protocols for client success. So really by the end of this webinar, you'll know exactly what it makes a great protocol, how to efficiently and effectively build and deliver a protocol in a way that's going to be really time friendly for you, but also fosters accountability and compliance from your clients. So let's kind of get into a screen share here for you so we can actually see the platform and walk through everything. All right. First, I want to define protocols. There's a lot of kind of terms within Practice Better that could be interpreted in a different way in a different context. So for the sake of today's session, and when you're thinking about Practice Better, protocols will refer to this feature here. We'll go down to our protocol template and recommendations section here. We're always referring to protocols as kind of the action plan or where you're going to house your advice and recommendations for your clients. So, commonly this is going to follow something like your initial consultation or, your follow-up sessions with the client. You'll kind of work to, recap what you've discussed, everything that you've learned about the client, where they're wanting to go, what they're wanting to achieve with their help, and kind of curate this set of advice and recommendations for them through the protocol feature. So oftentimes, and I'm sure many of us can relate, that when we're meeting with a client, we have these great conversations where things are flowing and we're sharing lots and kind of weighing in on our expertise. And the client, in the midst of all of that, they're reciprocating in the conversation, they're eating up all the information, but going away, it's hard to recall everything that happened within that session. So protocols are a great place to kind of sum everything up and provide really clear direction for the client. So in terms of what we're going to kind of be thinking of today when we're building out our protocol within Practice Better is what makes a good protocol or a great protocol, one that's, again, successful at getting your clients to take action on all the incredible information and expertise you've shared with them, but also not too heavy of a lift for you as a practitioner. Back when I was practicing, I remember doing these protocols and these meal plans that would literally mean that I was working for less than minimum wage because I was logging so many hours, like creating these really robust protocols and plans for my clients in like a Word doc. So we've come so far with all of the systems and tools that we have in place now, and it certainly doesn't have to equate to that many hours like I was logging back in the day. So we want our protocols to be comprehensive with clear, direct action steps for the client. We want to be able to provide sound logic about why we're making the recommendations or the advice that we are. Behavior change, of course, can be really daunting for people. So having that why element can make all of the difference in actually getting them to take action. We also want it to be really user and reader friendly. I like to kind of think about, the way that people are absorbing information these days. We have such a short attention spans. Like, we can blame social media on that, right? Like, we're always inundated with these, with tons of information and all these new really quick bite-sized formats these days. So when it comes to protocol, we don't want it to be really heavy, like a textbook with all the information that we're going to provide. So when we look at today's example, which is going to be our gut health protocol, we want to keep it succinct while still being, really comprehensive, like I said, and reader and user friendly, where it feels absorbable and not so overwhelmingly full of information and text heavy that people just look at it and think, I don't have time for this, or I don't want to sit through and read it. All right, so let's get into this here. I'm going to back up just a little bit to talk about this. So if you're familiar with Practice Better, if you're using the platform, you're going to access our protocols through My Practice, and then down at the bottom, you'll see protocol templates. So what's probably jumping out at you is that we have templates, and these are not templates that we offer just because we work with such a span of different types of health and wellness practitioners. Everyone's a little bit different in terms of what their scope of practice is, but what it allows you to do as within your own account is to create these templates. So I know that many of us have a niche or a specialization with what we do, right? So whether you are, you work with women's health, or maybe you work with type 2 diabetes, or you work with gut health, whatever it may be, you're likely making a lot of the same common recommendations to multiple clients and the advice that you're giving with clients. So the protocol template allows you to kind of build a framework with a lot of those common recommendations, the advice that you're giving, so that you can eliminate repetitive work and not have to worry about like retyping the same information for client after client after client. This is going to be really great because when it comes to actually meeting with your clients, you're taking your notes, going off to formulate their protocol plan, your turnaround time is going to be just that much faster, eliminating that repetitive work, which means that your client is going to be able to start implementing your advice that much faster. All right, so let's go into this. So this is kind of where I start thinking about the types of common recommendations or advice that I'm giving. This can be still quite high level, like if you're, you don't have to get too specific with these templates because they are all customizable. So when it comes time to actually assign them or deliver them to a client, you'll have opportunity to make them more specific. But we can take a look here at the gut health protocol. So when you are building out this template, come up with a name. You can decide what that looks like and a focus. So something that already is kind of going to frame what this is for the client, so that, again, we're giving them clear direction and kind of just the information right up front, so they know exactly kind of what to expect when they see this in their client portal. You can also set the duration. So again, I kind of want to touch on the fact that with protocols, they can be kept really general or more specific. This is going to depend on, the type of client you're working with, what your niche is and how you specialize, and also the capacity in which you work with them. So for example, maybe if you're working with a client in a 3-week package, you're going to keep this a little bit higher level because you're only going to have maybe one protocol turned over to them during that period of time. But maybe, on the flip side, as an example, maybe you're working with a client in a 12-month package and you're working with this client long-term, where there's going to be many iterations of a protocol, kind of a succession plan that builds on itself. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about the duration of your protocol. Is this something where there's going to be multiple iterations once the client has, checked off the first iteration and then they're ready to move on to that next step? Or is this kind of the only protocol that you plan to deliver that client within the time period that you're working with them? So for this instance, I've set it for 8 weeks. And then we get into kind of this text block here. And I mentioned here that I don't want this to be too text heavy or read like a textbook. That's my goal. I want to keep things as succinct as possible while also giving the client enough kind of logic about the why and what we're doing, so that they feel like they have kind of that baseline of information from them. I think it's really common, and maybe you'll agree with me. Let me know in the chat. We always know more than we think we know. And it's so easy when you're passionate about something to like overload people with information. So I always kind of remind myself, going back to those early days of practicing with clients, how much I would like throw on people at once. So anyways, this example here is kind of a good example going back to the duration where I could actually break this up into 4 different iterations if I was working with this client, on a more long-term basis or wanted to get really nitty-gritty and specific with them. So you can see here that as my example, I have this gut protocol that is all about removing, replace, reinoculate, and repair. So again, I could get really specific and break these down into their own protocols if I really wanted to. That's going to be up to you and kind of how you practice, right? So with this text block, I want to point out that you have all of these different form elements here. So in an effort to keep things engaging for the client, interesting, cater to different learning styles, we know that some people read and take in information really well. Some people might be better from an audio, just being able to plug in their earphones and listening on the go if they have a really busy lifestyle. So, if you are working with busy professionals or moms or things of that nature, maybe that's the way to go. Or you could even do something along the lines of like an embedded video. So you have lots of different opportunities with how you want to actually present the information to your clients. Offer a variety, again, to keep things engaging and more exciting for the client so that, there's appeal and they actually want to kind of sift through the information that you're, or not sift, but go through the information that you're sharing with them. So you can see here that I have actually added in a couple of images. So these kind of title placeholders, I have them from Canva. So just went in and made a really simple thing just to, complement my branding a little bit better, makes it look a little bit nicer. But I, of course, could add additional images in here, bullet points. I can kind of make this read exactly how I want. I did see that somebody raised their hand. This is a webinar, so I can't unmute you or anything, but if you have a question, just feel free to pop it in the chat and I'll keep an eye on that. And you can see here that I have a little video embedded. So what's nice about this is that kind of the philosophy with Practice Better is we're always working to keep things in one spot. And that goes for the practitioner and for the client as much as we can as possible too. So I really love the idea of embedding a video as kind of a short lesson or a short kind of, supplement to the advice and recommendations that you're giving to the client. It's a really nice personal touch point. And again, it's catering to those people that might have a better time learning, having the audio and the actual visual. Let's change this here, versus just reading text. So this is just going to kind of complement some of the information that I've outlined above. All right. Next thing I want to point out that is quite important with a protocol, and it will very much depend on your scope of practice, is that you can add disclaimers to your protocols. So you can see here that I have a little medical disclaimer that I've added. This is going to be something that you build out in your own practice. So I'll just point you kind of in the direction of this. We're not going to go too far into it, but under my practice, there's a section called disclaimers. So if you want, any kind of medical disclaimer or any kind of, disclaimer about whatever it might be for the client to review, you can add that. Once you have that built into the little disclaimer section here, you'll see that in the list when you have this disclaimer section for things like your services, your protocols, your programs. So I'm adding in my medical disclaimer. Next here, I have the food recommendation section. So the first thing that I want to highlight with this is that this is not where you're going to put a meal plan. This is where you're going to draw kind of awareness or attention to things that you want the client to be reducing, things that you want them to be avoiding or removing completely, and foods that you want to encourage the client to eat. So maybe you're going to kind of highlight some of those key ingredients that are going to help them achieve their goals. And if you are working with meal plans and that's something that you're actually providing to the client, maybe that meal plan is going to feature a lot of these ingredients. So let's take a look at this here. So you can see here that when you're adding these food recommendations, you'll be able to write it in. So write in what the recommendation is. You can provide examples. So with the different fermented foods here, I've added a bunch to educate my client on what are good options for them. And maybe these are going to be things that they see on their meal plan, if that's something, again, that you're looking to do with your clients. And then I can actually write in an explanation. So again, I talked about having that why is really great for encouraging your clients to actually take action on this. So I could write a blurb here about how fermented foods are great for our microbiome and how they're naturally occurring bacteria is great for our system. Whatever I need to do for that explanation here, I can include it for my clients so that, again, they're getting that piece of information from me, they're learning from my expertise, and when they're implementing this behavior change or adding something into their routine that feels new to them, and maybe something like fermented foods, right, feels a little bit daunting for people, they know why. They can always come back to that why with their choice. And then you can see here at the bottom, I've got the 3 different options. So include, reduce, or exclude. So once I hit done and we go back to this, you can see that the red, these are foods that I have marked at removing for this protocol, whereas the green are ones that I want to encourage the client to eat. So it's a nice kind of visual. In a second here, we will kind of, I guess, more towards the end, take a look at this protocol from the client side of view so that we can see kind of what they would see on their end. Yeah, Jenny just asked a couple of questions, how to embed a video. So we'll go back up to that here. And can you show how you added those food items? So hopefully, Jenny, you have, we'll just quickly take a look here again. So when it comes to these examples, I've literally just typed them in. So trying to think of another fermented food to add. I've already got this elsewhere, but we could do something like kefir. Okay, so once I just type that in and press enter, it's just going to pop up in this list here. And then if I wanted to maybe have a different section for something like this, I can just quickly X that. So hopefully that answers that, Jenny. And then just for the embedded video. So there's a couple of different options with how you can include video in your protocols. My recommendation is that you make use of this insert video button. So when you click this button, this little box will pop up and it will ask you for a video URL. So you can hop over to Vimeo or YouTube, upload your video, mark it as unlisted. Unlisted means that like the general population can type in the right key search terms and it'll pop up for them. So you're kind of keeping it private from the general public, but those who have the link will have access to it. So all you're going to do is copy and paste that link once you've uploaded it. And then it will pop up just like this. So they can watch it directly from their smartphone or their computer through the Practice Better client portal, and they won't be, navigated off to Vimeo or YouTube. So it keeps them kind of in the right place so that they don't, get distracted with like, I don't know, funny cat videos or something like that, and they get derailed from reading through the rest of their protocol. The other option here is the red fast action button. So when I click this, it will show that I can attach a file. So if you had a video file on your computer, that's another way that you could do it. And it would come up under the, are we here? Supporting documents and files section. So you lose that visual, you lose that ability for them to kind of have that thumbnail that they can kind of click into. And there's file size limitations if you upload it through that. So just be aware that depending on how you actually want to include like a video, audio, things of that nature. My recommendation is that you just kind of upload it through that third party at Vimeo or YouTube, and then you've got this really great one that they can click into. All right, so that's kind of the food recommendations. So again, I really like to use this to highlight key ingredients that I'm going to be including on a meal plan so that, again, when the client is looking through all of these recipes and things that I've curated for them, they know why. They know why they need to avoid them. They know why they should, try implementing them, things of that nature. If you're a practitioner that doesn't do meal plans, if you like your clients to have a little bit more freedom and kind of create their meals together, this is still a really great option. It just kind of pointing them in the direction of the foods that they should focus on and ones that they should perhaps reduce or, take a break from, whether permanently or temporarily. Next, we have supplement recommendations. So in terms of having a really successful protocol that's going to actually help your clients achieve their goals, we want it to be comprehensive. So We integrate with a couple of different dispensaries within Practice Better, one of them being FullScript. So let me know if you're familiar in the chat with FullScript. I think most people are. FullScript is an online dispensary that allows your clients to order supplements and then they're just delivered straight to their door. So super convenient for the client. And instead of having to kind of go off into a separate place as a practitioner, I can actually create my FullScript protocol. They also call it a protocol right within what I'm doing here in Practice Better. So we'll go through kind of what that looks like here. So you'll have, if you have integrated with FullScript, you'll see that you have an additional kind of FullScript catalog tag. Otherwise, you'd be going just kind of through the database of all these different brands. If you didn't see the brand that you were after, if you were looking for something very specific, you can kind of manually log in the brand and the supplement that you are recommending. You would just kind of build it out yourself. So you can see here that I can just kind of type in everything free form. But if you are integrated with FullScript, you can just search through the products that you're interested in. If you have things that you know and love and like to recommend, you can also see that they've further broken things down into different types. So it makes it really easy for me. If I'm looking for a probiotic, for example, I can just go through this list here and choose what I'm after, So super simple. Once you select the supplement that you want, see, I can choose which size. We'll go with the 60 capsule. This is going to pull up the recommended dosage from the actual, bottle of HMF Forte, whatever Genestra logged on their recommendations. So you can choose to use the recommendation, or if you have something specific that you want to encourage the client to do, you can do that as well. And then it will ask you, so, what's the serving size? When are the clients meant to have it? You can see here, you can set the frequency and let the client know exactly when during their day you want them to have it, how long they're going to kind of keep on this supplement. So you have a bunch of different options here. So again, think about that duration when you're building out your protocol. Also keep in mind the supplements that they're going to be introducing and how long you want them to be on those as well. So if you are coming up with that next iteration of the protocol, you can, keep that same supplement just rolling through, or maybe you're going to kind of stop and see if certain symptoms have been improved or alleviated, that kind of idea. You can let the client know to refill the supplement. And then also here's again your opportunity to provide that logic or that why for what you're recommending. So if I'm putting in this probiotic, I can let the client know exactly why I think a probiotic would support them in their current goals, and then any kind of additional information there as well. So that's kind of the process that you'll go through with every single supplement. It's very similar whether you're using the FullScript dispensary or just kind of pulling from our database or even doing the free form. All of those categories will be there for you to choose. What's nice with this, if anyone has ever been on, multiple supplements at once, you know that it can be a little bit overwhelming with what you should take when and what you shouldn't take together, and should this be taken with food or not. So we actually, based on how you've input this, will come up with a little kind of chart as to how many times a client should be taking things, when, what, that kind of idea. And we'll see that when we take a look at the kind of example of this protocol from the client side. So by checking this little box here, once you publish this protocol for the client will also receive an email from FullScript letting them know that a protocol has been created, and they can simply go on to your online dispensary and order those supplements if you are integrating with FullScript. I see a question from Christine. How do you individualize protocols without creating many protocol templates? Similar recommendations, they're always different for clients. We'll take a look at that shortly, of how easy it is to deliver the protocols to the clients, customize them without having an overabundance of templates within your account. Okay, getting to kind of the end of how we're building out this protocol, the next section that you have here is lifestyle recommendations. So bear in mind that if you're a practitioner who's not kind of too focused on some of these lifestyle factors, then you simply just don't have to include them. But if you are someone who wants to have this really kind of comprehensive overall dietary lifestyle protocol, you can add these in here. So you can add them in. We do have different sections with some kind of, I guess, curated recommendations, we call them, where you can simply just go through and select them. So you can sift through those, or you can just log them manually. So if you have something very specific, you want your client to, turn off their phone at 9 p.m. so they're not getting that blue light exposure before bed so that they can get a better night's sleep, whatever that recommendation is. If you don't see it within that list, you can write that in, again, provide that explanation. You can also save recommendations. So I haven't saved any, so you're not seeing them there, but I'll show you where you can save them next. So again, if you are creating another iteration or a new template where you're going to have a different focus, but some, I guess, overlap or similar recommendations to a previous template, you can even pull through some of those to save recommendations to save yourself time. So when we go back here, you'll notice that I can save all of these recommendations to make even the template creation even faster next time. All right, last section here is the supporting documents. So these can be any additional resources that you want your clients to have that are going to help educate them or just kind of provide them information. This is a great place for you to stick a meal plan. So if you have a meal plan that you've saved as a PDF, you can certainly do it there. I know that there's a lot of meal planning services, things like that Clean Life, where you can generate a PDF and it comes like with a nice schedule, all the recipes, the grocery list, export that as a PDF, and then simply just attach that to the protocol. So that is kind of all of the different elements when you're building a protocol. So everything from that kind of general text box that you can format, add video, add audio if you want. You can add in supplements, food recommendations, lifestyle recommendations, and any supporting docs, keeping in mind that you can kind of pick and choose what actually makes sense for your clients and leaving out the others. So once we save this recommendation, we can start to now use this with our clients. So this is a great opportunity here. Let's go to our protocols. So let's say that we've just met with one of our clients and we'd like to select again this gut health protocol for that client, knowing that there's going to be, some specific changes for it. Actually, yeah, so let's go to create for clients. So this will bring up a list of my clients here. Any pinned clients will be at the top. So you can see that little star there. So these could be the clients that I'm actively working with. I can select them. So let's say that when I met with Mary, I learned a little bit more specifics about her, and I want to kind of take this general framework and make it more specific to her. I can very easily do this now without having another template added to my account. So I can keep that very kind of basic one and just, add in her recommendations. So for example, maybe she let me know that she hates having powdered supplements. I can go in and edit this recommendation. Or what we'll do here is actually, we'll edit this and we'll actually change the supplements. So now I can go through and find a glutamine that's actually a capsule. So you make these little modifications and these little kind of curated changes specific to that client very easily. And once you're done, so we'll just select this one, we'll use the recommendation, click done. So, likely there's going to be more changes to your general template depending on, your client and their needs. But once you have made all of those little tweaks to your template, I can then hit save and publish. Okay, so it will ask you if you want to send a confirmation to Mary. You can choose whether or not you want to do that. And now Mary has this protocol delivered to her with those adjustments that I've made. It will give you a few more prompts if you did use full script. I'm just going to press done for now. And now that's delivered. So super simple for me. Let's take a look at what it looks like on the client side. So when they log into their client portal, when they get notification that they have this new protocol being delivered, this is what they're going to see. So they'll see the title, the focus, the duration that you've set. They'll see all of the different content that you've created for them, all of the different information. So they'll have the foods to include section. So whatever food I included, the examples, and then any kind of logic or kind of rationale as to why you chose to include it, recommended that they avoid it or exclude it. You'll see it here. So, if you have a little bit more of an explanation, that will be there for them. They'll have the foods to exclude section. And then if you had one where you wanted them to reduce their consumption, they would see a section on that as well. They've got their lifestyle recommendation section, the supporting docs, so they can choose to view or just even download them. So they have them right on their computer or their phone. And then there's supplement recommendations. So they'll actually be able to click into this just to see a little bit more information. And then they've got that supplement chart as well. So again, really handy. I don't know, I've gotten personally even overwhelmed with when you've got a lot of supplements to take, when and where. So I really love this little supplement chart to make that super easy. Clients will also have the option to download this so that they, if they don't want to have to log on to Practice Better every single time, if they wanted to print it out, they'd be able to do that after they've downloaded it. So they've got their options there as well. All right, just pausing for a question here. Jenny asks, can you show us how to create an encounter after a client session? Can be template, can be built and used for creating an encounter. So encounter, we might be using slightly different language. Are you referring to like a meeting with a client or like a note? Maybe if you can just share a little bit what you mean about encounter, a session summary. Sure. So during the session, if you're looking to kind of chart and take notes and just kind of keep tabs on what's being discussed, you also have the ability to do note templates within Practice Better. So let's say you're in a follow-up and you want to kind of keep a log of everything that's being discussed. You can, use the note template, and then you can either pull this up from the client record, or I'll show you how you can use the client hub to access this information. So again, it's the exact same principle where you're creating this framework so that when it comes time to actually meeting with the client and you're having the session with them, you can log everything, keep it very consistent, keep everything very succinct, ensuring that you're getting kind of the information that you need, you're not forgetting anything. And then you have the option of either sharing this with the client. So if this is information you think would be helpful for them, you can just kind of click this little icon. But if this is information that you want to kind of keep just for your eyes and you don't want your clients to see it, you'll just simply unclick that and they will not see that shared if you choose to share the note. So this is great because as you're in the initial consultation or a follow-up session with your client, oftentimes information that's coming up in that session is going to be what informs that protocol. So really easy for you when you are, let's see here, in a protocol where you can access a client hub. So let's say, for example, I'm going to open the client hub. So I've just clicked my clients. You can see this little person icon here. I'll click this. This is kind of like quick, easy access to the client record where I don't have to navigate off of the current page that I'm on before, so I'm not opening up multiple tabs or multiple windows and having to click back and forth. So I can actually go through and look at, say, their completed forms. I could look through the notes and actually see all of the notes that I took during the session. That's going to help inform me on any of those little tweaks that I need to make to my template or things of that nature. So that's really great too. So definitely make use of that hub, and also keep in mind that you can open multiple of them. So, if I wanted to pull up one on their initial consultation form or their intake form and then look at their session notes from their initial consultation, I could do that just to ensure that I'm making kind of the right comprehensive meal plan specific to that client. All right, the other thing that I want to point out, just because I think it's going to help make your lives really easy, is the placeholder tool. So placeholders are fantastic in that they're a great way to customize to the client, but also really save you time. So if I'm just going to show you for the sake of an example here, I'll press this one. Of course, you'd use it in proper context where this would be, integrated in the right spot. I can also pull up things like, let's see, medical history, like supplements, and things like diet and lifestyle notes. So again, if you're kind of working these placeholders into the appropriate places, what these do is they pull information from the client record. So on the template side of things, they look like just, percentage signs and the names. But when I customize this to the client, it's actually going to pull information from the client record into into this protocol. So in that way, it's really nice that it will feel really customized to the client and saves me time from having to navigate over to the client record or even through the client hub to pull up this information that is going to help me in this protocol. I will kind of point out to you, and it's worth looking into, that we have something called form mapping. So I'm just going to show you where it exists because we don't have time to get into it today. Hopefully you can still see this because I just went to a different tab. But what you can do here with your forms and waivers is mappings and settings. So this is a way for you to take information from a completed form and you can set up the mapping. So basically what it would look like, you can choose the form that you want to map and then choose the question that you want pulled over. So I want the answer to this testimonial question pulled over into this section within the client record. And you can continue to do that for whatever questions you want the answers pulled over into the client record. Once you have that set up, you can set up an automation. So in the automation section where it's going to automatically, anytime you get that form returned that has the mapping set up, that information will auto-populate in the client record. So when I'm looking at my example client Mary here, you can see that I've got all of these different sections. I've got basic information, medical history, diet, and lifestyle. I could go through and manually update these, or I could set up that mapping, have everything pulled over automatically whenever I get that form complete. And then when I am creating things like the protocol templates or even the forms or anything of that nature, when I customize it for the client and it's sent to them, it will auto-populate with all of their information. So let's just take a look at this in practice. We'll go back to this gut protocol here. And I'm just going to keep this really basic because I want you to be able to see kind of how this works here. And keep in mind that this is my demo account, so I don't have everything too built out here. We can go to things like current medical concerns, whatever it might be, or let's go with, just trying to think what I have in her folder. Notes, whatever. Okay, so now when we save this and we assign this to Mary, so we'll do this all over again here. Mary, you can see here, really basic example, but you can see here that the placeholder that I added that had her information auto-populated. So again, if I was actually creating a template, I would make sure that contextually that made sense where I was adding things. But the placeholder where there was no information is just going to be left blank. So if that particular aspect of your client record has not been populated for whatever reason, they're not going to just see this like random percentage sign and what you would see on your end. So you don't have to worry about that kind of not translating over. So again, a really great way. We're always kind of thinking of ways that we can save you time with things like this, so you can get these protocols delivered faster. So things like the placeholders, the saved recommendations, and the templates are going to come in really handy. All right, so you've now delivered it to the client, and now we're wanting to kind of inspire them to take action and hold them accountable. So we have a few different ways that I want to show you how you can actually encourage this with your clients. So you don't have to do all of these, but certainly ideas to implement. We'll go back over to Mary Smith here. So this is her client record. This is kind of her hub of everything that's ever taken place between us that I have a running history of. And on the right-hand side here, you'll see that I have tasks for Mary. So again, a protocol is all about kind of creating those, housing those recommendations, but also creating really clear action steps for your clients. And in this instance here, I want to make it really clear where she should be spending her time and energy to actually impact, her health and wellness and drive change, help her achieve her goals. So I can, using the red fast action button, create a task. It will pull up this box here. So you can create a task for yourself in relation to Mary or one specifically for Mary. And this is where you can ask them. So you can say something like order postscript supplements. And you could say something like refer to your protocol link something along the lines of this, right? So whatever it needs to be, again, I always believe in kind of over communicating the why to the client. I can also set this to recur. So if you know that you have given them a protocol supplement that's going to last them 60 days based on what you've put in that protocol, I could actually ask this to recur, say every, 6 weeks, something like that, whatever it needs to be. So again, eliminating the need to like kind of come in here and do this all over again. I can set a due date. I can make this high priority depending on what this task is, but this is just going to kind of act as kind of the to-do list for my client and provide them again the information that they need when they've been learning so much from me, what they need to really be focused on and do next. So that's kind of idea number one, setting those tasks up, that little to-do list for your client. They'll be able to access this through the Better app on their smartphone or from their computer, wherever they're logging into their client portal. So that is one idea there. The next thing that you can do through Practice Better is actually send them a chat message. So we have this secure chat feature. And this allows you to have kind of nice casual check-ins with your clients and even schedule them in advance. So if I wanted to ask Mary how she's doing with her protocol, ask a specific question, whatever it might be, when I deliver that protocol, if I'm kind of in that mode of planning everything out for that specific client, what I could even do is preemptively schedule a few messages to go out, just as kind of a nice checkpoint and touching base with the client to make sure that they're on track, they've reviewed things. I don't know about you guys, but I've actually had follow-up sessions with clients where I ask them how things went with their protocol and they're like, I haven't started yet. I haven't even opened my meal plan. And I'm thinking like, why are we having this follow-up session? But it just goes to show how much those little check-ins matter, because if I knew that weeks ago, we could have tweaked things, we could have adjusted, we could have troubleshooted together, and even maybe postponed that follow-up session so that we could, ensuring that we were getting the most out of those visits. So if I wanted to schedule this out, all I would do is hit this little icon here, and then I could say when I actually want that check in to go out. So maybe I wanted to wait or two after the protocol was delivered for Mary to receive that message. Jenny asks, is there an email feature? So I'll show that to you just at the end here, because there is a way that you can email your clients if you'd like to. All right, the next thing that you could do is encourage clients to use their food and lifestyle journals. So let's just take a look here. Clients, if you want them to, have access to a food and lifestyle journal. This can be as robust or as simple as you want it to be, depending on your scope of practice and how you're actually working with your clients. But let's go to a date that I know has been completed here. So this is an opportunity for the clients to log what they're eating. So if you included certain key ingredients in your protocol, if you attached a meal plan, this would be a good way of vetting that they've actually kind of been following through and implementing your advice into their day-to-day. You can see here that I have a lot of information on my side. I have information about nutrient targets and totals. I have calorie information. You can keep all of those views hidden. So if you want your client to not be able to see kind of any of the nutrient analysis and information like you're seeing in the nutrient summary, there are settings available where you can hide those. I just wanted to point that out because I know that that can be delicate information for some people. So yeah, there's many different ways that a client can log within their journal. They can do a free form entry where they're simply typing things out. They can then kind of log and make connections about kind of the symptoms they're experiencing in relation to that mealtime. So good for the practitioner to kind of connect the dots as well. And then as a practitioner, you can review this, you can add comments, you can leave little reactions, just kind of a nice little way to stay in touch with the client and encourage them, celebrate wins with them, help them kind of work through challenges, things of that nature. Clients can also log food through our database. So we're integrated with Nutritionix. So they can kind of type in through their journal and it will pull up with all of this information. So that's kind of where some of this information is coming from. Whereas when they're doing the free form, that's not available. They can upload photos. They can just use the free form, log their water intake, sleep, We have an integration with Fitbit. So if your client does have a Fitbit, they can integrate that with their journals where things like their sleep and activity will be automatically uploaded to their journals. So that's a really nice feature. Bowel movement, freeform notes. So again, lots of different ways that you can use this journals feature. If some information is more relevant to you than others, then you can advise your clients on what they're actually completing and what they don't have access to. So you have kind of controls on your end. You can set up little targets, things like that. And then once they fill it out, you'll get a notification through your practitioner portal that lets you know that there is a new entry for you to review. You can make your notes and then just click reviewed at that time. So another great way to kind of make sure that clients are taking your advice, putting their protocols into action and kind of supporting them along the way. Okay, a couple more ideas before we wrap up this little section of our webinar. The next thing that I want to share with you within our form section. So if you're on Practice Better, you're likely familiar that we have this custom form builder where you can kind of, create your intake forms and your check-in forms. Sky's the limit really in how you can use this. So one thing that you could do here is create kind of like a little check-in form. So in my protocol example today, you may have noticed that I had a little kind of video on stress and digestion, the connection between those things, and how important it is for us to keep our stress in check for this example. So I have a little check-in form to ensure that my client is heeding that advice and working in, some intentional activities to manage their stress levels. So a little check-in form, really short and sweet for them to kind of gauge progress. So again, it's really nice because when I meet with my client for that next follow-up session, we can kind of compare, right? So we can compare an earlier submission of this form to a later one to see if things are improving for that client. And if they're not improving, we can talk about it, things like that. For that particular form, when I send it to a client, I do have the option of making that form recur. So if it is a check-in form where I want it to be, filled out, let's go into the form section here. If I want that to be completed multiple times, I can recur it. So again, if a client is working with me on a 6-month package and we're meeting every month, maybe I want them to fill out that check-in form once a month before we have that follow-up session. So another idea for you to keep in touch with your clients throughout the duration of that protocol. All right, touching on Jenny's question about email features. So if you prefer to email your clients, I just want to point out a couple of different things for you. First and foremost, within the under the little gear icon under notifications preferences, you can see the notifications that your clients receive. So these are the times that they'll actually get an email in their inbox letting them know about, all of these things mentioned here. So for example, if there's a new task created, if there was, let's see here, something else that's relevant, a recurring session booked, whatever it might be, you can choose which of these forms actually are going out to the client, and you have the opportunity to customize them. So if there's something specific that you want to say when these notifications go out, you can simply just adjust these notifications. So that's one option for you. The other thing that you can do is what we call a broadcast. So this is a little bit, I guess, of maybe a workaround, maybe not. So the broadcast tab, you access that through the little speech bubble icon. And then you've got this tab here. So the broadcast. So broadcasts are a way for you to speak to clients through either a secure message or through an email. So you can say something like protocol, check-in. You can say how you'd like this to be delivered. So whether that is an email or whether that is a direct message, both you get to decide. You can add in the message. We can use those placeholders here. So that pulls from the client record. Put in your message, whatever that may be, maybe a little bit more specific than I'm showing you in this example here. Hit next, and then you can select the clients that you'd like this to go out to. So this is great if you want to do kind of a bulk check-in with your clients. If you have multiple clients that you want to check in with to see how they're faring in between appointments, making sure that they're on track, things are looking good for them, just having that touch base with them, you can either select multiple clients individually, or even go through the active tags group. So let me just go to this one here. Actually, yeah. Okay. So if you had more clients or more tags, so tags being how you organize your clients, groups of tags, you would see all of those there, and you'd be able to say that I want this particular check-in to either go to one client, maybe multiple, and then it's going to deliver that message to all of them. You can have this sent immediately, or you can schedule it in advance. So again, a way to kind of get ahead of yourself if you have a really busy week, things of that nature. And then you can hit send, and the client will receive that as an email from you, or if you chose for that to go through as a direct chat, you can do that as well. Jenny is asking, if I have a program for clients in a group setting, can I load educational videos and other content into this platform? Can participants in the group do group chatting in a forum? Yes, we have all of those features. So through our programs feature, you've got a couple of different options here. This is really where you can house content and drip it out to your clients. And you get to decide how that content is stripped out. So we have 3 different styles. We have what's called fixed date. So kind of your calendar date, whether that's, something like a 5-day challenge, November 15th to 20th, or even a 6-week where you're choosing calendar dates to associate that with. And then you can say that the modules, you'll get a new one, say every week. You could do evergreen. So that's more so based on time elapsed. So that would be like the 2-week challenge where people can start at any time and see access all of your content and resources that you're sharing with them. Or you can do self-paced. So the next module is released by the client saying that they have completed the former one, and then they'll have access to the next one. So you've got 3 different options. You can build these out very similar to protocols in that you've got kind of, go into the content here, you've got that kind of content box where you can build it out. So you can see here, pretty similar. You don't have that section on food recommendations, supplements, things of that nature. So if you want to include that type of information into a protocol or into a program, what you can do is actually link a protocol. So that's still going to mean that you're going to build out that protocol template as we viewed. You'd go over to the protocol tab, and then you can choose to add one here, add it in, and then the clients who go through this program, so if you're working with groups versus one-on-one, this is going to work really well for them to still see kind of the supplements that you're recommending, the foods, all of the things that we went through when we were looking at that protocol build. Okay, so we can save changes. So that's another way to deliver your protocol if you are, again, working with groups or you're working with online programs, you can certainly do that. Just to kind of wrap things up, Jenny, you can do kind of like a group chat or feed. So you can see here an example. I've got a group chat going where all of the participants within this program can communicate with each other. They can post videos, share, images. They can interact with each other, comment on each other's posts, like them, add little emojis. As a practitioner, I can schedule things out if I have things like an engagement question or things of that nature. So lots of ways that you can interact with your clients through the program. All right, we are kind of at the end of our little session on protocols. I hope you guys found that helpful. I've got, 5 more minutes for questions. So now would be a great time to ask. If you have any questions about what we looked at with protocols or any other questions about Practice Better and what it can do and, workflow suggestions, please let me know. And yeah, happy to answer them in this next couple of minutes here. Amy, I will make you the host again in case you want to turn off your camera as we get towards the end of our little session.
You.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was so helpful. And we've got this recorded, so we'll post it so everyone can watch the replay. Because there was a lot of information to take in there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll share that with you shortly. But yeah, if nobody has any other questions before we wrap up the hour here, I guess I will say thank you so much for having me. It's always a lot of fun to connect with other users and other people who are working with nutrition clients. It always makes me kind of going through these sessions miss working with clients because everything would be so much easier nowadays. But yeah, thank you so much. And I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day.
Awesome. Thank you so much.